Hello, and welcome to Optimize Every Day. I'm Doug, and we're here talking about willpower. But before we get into this, if you like my channel, like and subscribe, and we'll get into this. Well, here we are again, and welcome to Optimize Every Day, where we focus on small, consistent changes that make big impact in the long term. So, today we're talking about willpower and how it is overrated. Um, if you can think back as a child, or maybe when you had situations where you had to use willpower, how often did it succeed? And was it as wonderful as you thought? You can see situations where you have a baseball player who practices and practices and practices, and that willpower gets him to and his team to the World Series, and they win the pennant, and everything is wonderful. Um, as a child, maybe that willpower got you through a test and you got an A, fantastic. But there's other situations where you try and you try and you put as much willpower into it as you can, and you still fail. So let's dig into this a little bit further. But before we do, take a moment and just think about where um, willpower may have failed you and where it helped you succeed. I'll give you a few seconds to think about that. All right, so many years ago, um, basically the 1970s, some of you were around, some of you weren't, um, there was a study done by Stanford University. It was a longitudinal study, and it gave us a lot of the information that we utilize today to determine what the power of willpower is. So, what they did is they took some children from a daycare center on Stanford University, and they had 16 girls and 16 boys, and they were from the ages of about 3.5 to 5 years, 3 months, 4 months, somewhere in there. And they set them in a room with all kinds of things, and they let them play for a little bit, and then they gave them a marshmallow. And with that marshmallow, they told them, hey, if you wait 15 minutes, we'll give you an additional marshmallow if you haven't eaten the one that you have there. And you can choose between having a marshmallow or pretzel rods, whichever you want, but you have to wait 15 minutes. So they saw a couple of children just go right away, eat the marshmallow, they were done with it. They didn't seem to care. The other ones, they saw them, trying to use tactics that would prevent them from eating the marshmallow because they wanted that second marshmallow or the pretzel rod so they could have both. Either way, they found, that someone would sing a song, or they would count things or do things that would pass their time, make it pass along a little bit faster. And in the end, they got the reward. And then they followed those children on until they uh, graduated high school. Well, what they found was that the kids that had the willpower to hold off and move away and allow themselves to have the larger reward did better in school, did better on tests, had better grades, which allowed them some more opportunities. And they use this as a way of saying that, hey, willpower is a great thing and it makes you more successful. Well, over the past 20 years, given it's 2025 now, so in the last 20 years, they've done a number of research studies that have debunked that theory. So, a reality check here. Now we know that, hey, that isn't always the case. Um, everybody pretty much knows who Facebook is these days. They're not Facebook anymore, they're Meta. And at one point, Meta laid off over 3,000 people. They went in and took people that were on family leave, people who were out due to illness, and people who, for all intents and purposes, had no issues with their work performance as far as they were aware. And yet, they were all told that they were being fired due to work performance issues. So, not really true, not 100% false, but not really true. And some people actually went and took Meta to court to try and fight the firing, but either way, they were laid off. So all that willpower that they used to get that job to be wonderful employees, what did it do for them? That seems not very much. But even though willpower was able to get them a little bit of the way, one of the things that created a situation that would have been able to save some of their jobs is relationships. So I can remember a situation that I was in, and this wasn't that far off. I was working a job. My performance reviews were stellar. I made one minor mistake, and instead of coming back to me and saying, hey, this is how we correct this, they went and said, hey, that's something that should never have been done. Well, had I built a relationship with the person who I had spoke to that I wasn't supposed to speak to, they probably could have saved my job. But I didn't know to build that relationship. So I ended up losing my job over a performance issue that really wasn't a performance issue. It was a situation that ended up causing me to lose my job. Very frustrating thing. There's another person I know. She was working a job. She wasn't making a lot of money, but she came up with a brilliant idea. The brilliant idea, when implemented, she went and pitched it to her boss, and her boss says, well, you think that'll work? I'll give you some latitude. Let's put it into action and let's see what it does. Well, it turns out that her idea was able to save the company thousands of dollars and hundreds of hours every quarter in processing time. And so the company was able to, instead of hiring new employees, they were able to shift employees to different departments and use less employees to do the same amount of work. Her boss came to her and said, hey, I think it would be better for you to quit and be a contractor for us. And she went, well, how's that structured? She was able to with the help of her boss, structure a plan where her employer became her client. And with that, she got a huge pay raise increase. And within a year, she saw her income rise from 30K to 300K. And then she wasn't working as many hours, but she was still providing support for the company. And then, per the guidance of her former boss, she took this idea to other companies in the same area of work that she was working in, and went to them and pitched the idea and said, hey, my company can help you to do this, and here's my results with this company, and it's been able to allow them to shift employees over here, and it's making them a lot of money. And so her income then rose significantly again, because now she's taken on a bunch of customers who are using the process that she developed for the company she was working at. Now she's making over $1 million a year, and she has employees that are helping her to guide and develop and ensure that these companies are going along and doing the right things and making more money. Great opportunity for her, but it wasn't just willpower, it was the relationships that she had with the people she was working with to help her to develop her idea, make it functional, make it work, and then get it out there into the world and build that and build it into a working company. So another example, a little closer to home, is when I was a kid, my dad had his own business, and his largest customer had a couple of employees come to the owners of the business, and they said, hey, we're getting charged this amount of money by this company to provide a service that we can do in-house, and we can hire the employees and we can buy the equipment, and it's going to cost us this amount of money, and over a year we'll be able to save so much money. It wasn't a lot over what my dad's company was charging them, but little did the employees know that the owners of the business were actually considering selling. So they said, okay, we'll let that go. And that led to a situation where my dad was informed that they were going to let him go as a provider of services. They were going to do it over a period of time, so that way he could adjust easier. They would take on some of his employees, and they could help with running the operation within the company and make this all work. So that took place. Well, my dad being frustrated and all, he was like, I'm not really wanting to rebuild this back up. But over the years, he had built relationships with a number of different companies and different people, and they literally, when he went to them, he said, this is my situation. Either I have to rebuild up business and find new clients, or I need to go another direction. And one of the people that he was talking to and asking for advice from says, well, why don't you come work for me? And he offered him way more money than he was making working for himself. And it was a great opportunity, and it offered my dad the opportunity to do some things that he'd been wanting to do, but didn't have the financial ability to do in certain cases. And some of the things had him traveling to places that he wanted to interact with certain individuals on ideas that he had. So it was a big win-win situation. If it weren't for the relationships, my dad could have made it. Who knows? He might have done better for himself. But in the short term, he ended up doing better. And then from those relationships, it took him on to other places that rose him up the corporate ladder. And he ended up working for businesses based on all of the connections he had built over the years. And he's built quite a nest egg. So the failure wasn't horrible. He succeeded, but the relationships ensured his success. There's been other situations where, I've had people I have worked with who worked in the same company I did, had worse metrics than I did, but they built relationships with managers above them that allowed them to move into positions that made more sense for them. So when you're out there, and you're looking at what you're doing and how willpower can help you, willpower will take you so far, but it's not the wonderful pill that seems to be put out there as this marvelous piece that will save you and make things better for you. In fact, sometimes willpower will actually cause you to fail because you're pushing so hard, and people don't want you to push so hard sometimes. And sometimes it will create success. But in the end, the relationships you have are more important than the effort that you're putting into your willpower to make it happen, force it to happen. You're letting it grow naturally, and you're using the people and the resources around you to push your success. And by allowing the people around you to push your success, not only does it get you further, but it gives you more opportunities and more opportunities for growth. And in sense, you're making their lives easier, you're making your life easier, and when things are improving and things are going well, everybody's winning, and we want those wins. So ask yourself, are you building relationships, or are you just trying to willpower your way through it? If you really want to optimize every day, you should be building relationships and use your willpower where it needs to be used, not just everywhere and forcing things. Let's take a moment and let's reflect on your optimize everyday goals, and let's add into that toolkit relationship buildings and make that part of what you're doing to bring success. So maybe ask yourselves a few questions. What steps can you take to strengthen your professional relationships right now? Are you actively networking and building connections that could open future opportunities? I know there's a lot of networking situations you can engage in. Um, Search those out. There's plenty of them. How can you balance willpower and relationships to maximize career growth? And when you're looking at career growth, that could be entrepreneurial as well as an employee. If you lost your job today, do you have relationships in place that could help you find a new opportunity now? You know, we've covered a bunch of areas here in this video, and it's not a bad idea to go back and review. We have willpower, and willpower is a great thing. Nobody's going to take anything away from you for having willpower. In fact, it's lauded in a lot of environments, and especially in academia, because it will get you places that, you know, relationships won't just get you, but willpower will in that environment. But academia is not every environment. We've talked about relationships and how building relationships is important and how you can gain from those relationships. You know, those relationships can be built over time and should be. You know, look at your relationships with your friends from grade school to high school to college, if you went to college. Not everybody needs to go to college to become a millionaire or even a billionaire. But you do have to have relationships to help you to build your way to get there. Let's continue to optimize every single day. And watch for us. Make sure to like and subscribe and ring the bell. And thanks for watching.